My name is James Huxtable, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing about how myself and Ankara answered evaluation question 6, which is looking back on the preliminary task. What do we feel we've learned from the progression from that to the full product? This is evaluation question 6. Please excuse this on my face. Let's get started. In Sprite Club, which was our original preliminary task we made a few months ago, or before we started the actual project. In that film, it was quite quickly done, and we had quite a lot of awkward sort of shots. Sounds bad. The shots weren't fully planned out and structured, and I guess we didn't really take much time to think about it. Was quite the sound. There's quite a lot of lines and dialogue actually was a bit lost due to the fact we hadn't got that great camera skills at the time, and so there's quite a lot of awkward shots, poor sound. It was a good. We think it was a good original idea, like the whole idea of concept of that, almost like parodying Fight Club. Because it was quite original, but it could have been a lot better if we had obviously taken the time to plan it and structure it. Because it's a preliminary task, we weren't aware how necessary that was. For example, in our Sprite Club film, there's some quite shaky sort of camera work, and there's no reason to be, simply due to us rushing and not taking enough time on it. Whereas in our final piece, there's a part in our final piece where it zooms in on a phone, and we use a shaky camera effect for a reason, and that's really different. We're thinking more about what we have to do and why we're doing things. So you want to have a sort of shaky camera shot of that phone to increase the uncomfortability for the audience. So I think, what's going on here is quite blurry. So you want to make that sort of uncomfortability factor a big part of it. Whereas in Sprite Club, we just did it because it happened. It just happened, so it stayed like that. But whereas in our final piece, we are thinking about our decisions and making choices based on those decisions. Another good example of us making decisions on our work is the fact that we chose, unlike quite a lot of other people making in our class, we decided not to have actual opening credits. So we felt in the genre we're looking at, they usually show this sort of classic murder sort of scene before it then goes on and shows the opening credits in the next scene. Where people might be analysing what's going on, a detective might be at the scene, that's when they normally show the opening credits. And by doing that research on our genre, which we didn't do the research before we made our Sprite Club short film, it allowed us to just understand more about our genre, about our target audience, and about what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And I think that's obviously what we learned. One of the big things we learned is just the fact that we should take more time on a lot of decisions and really understand exactly what we want to do and why we want to do it before we go ahead and put something on camera. And of course, we also learned through the process of making the film, just how to make a film generally speaking, creating an intriguing story arc, planning with characters, and everything using media products like the camera, the editing software, as we explained in our earlier question. And we learned that there was a lot of different aspects of film, and a lot you have to do in order to make an actual short film or film opening. And there's a lot of different concepts you need to think about before you can finally put something on YouTube like we have done. So obviously you need to really, really plan and make an interesting and intriguing plot. Make sure your characters are strong and believable, and then actually be able to have the ability to put that into camera and put sounds in, put music in order to make a film what it is. And then, of course, we also figured out that you can have a great plot and great, strong, relatable characters, but you also need to have correct casting in order to make a film successful. You might have the best characters in the world, But if you've not got strong enough casting decisions, or made a strong enough casting call, then that won't be portrayed at all in the film. So therefore, we try to make really good representational choices and decisions again on who we decided to have play the two parts. So one is quite an old, sort of creepy sort of figure, whereas the other is a young sort of teenage YouTuber. So it's obviously very different characters, and we have to make sure we make the right call when we decide how to cast them. And I think we have done that. But it is obviously a vital part of filmmaking. So, all in all, I believe that in comparison to our preliminary task, our full product was actually a much better, like so much better than what we did originally. It is more planned, more thorough, more detailed, more engaging. And that was mainly due to mistakes made in Sprite Club in the preliminary task, rather than by having the awkward shots and poor sound and lost dialogue examples, it was obviously not as good as it could have been. And by maximising all the possible things and thinking about everything we could have done in our full product, we managed to make it as good as we possibly could. And of course, by making strong and important decisions regarding anything from our plot lines to our casting, we were also able to really use our resources well in order to make what we think is a very good piece for our coursework. And of course, by just how to make a film generally, and learning all the different techniques and all the different things and aspects of filmmaking was obviously very interesting, and also helped us develop our filmmaking and develop our full product even further. So we feel we've learned a lot. And the real stature of what we've learned is really displayed through, if you compare our preliminary task and our full product, you can see how much better the full product is. And that's why we feel we have learned a huge amount in transition between the two pieces. And so I think that's all I've got to say on that. I hope the video wasn't too long and boring. Thank you for listening. And this is James and Annie out, probably for the last time. Thank you.